distributor of Fortinet technology in South Africa. We've got Mark Linnell, who's a major account manager for Fortinet based in the Western Cape. And we work together extensively in terms of presenting solutions to our customers. So I want to introduce Praven a little bit further in terms of his abilities and experience with Fortinet technology. This is not a hardcore engineering discussion. I know there's a lot of technical people in the call, but we've got a lot of IP between all of us to address the technical questions as well. We just can't install it. None of us are installers. We've got resources for that. So having said that, Praven, thank you very much for your time and the effort of putting the presentation together. I'd like to hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Firoz, and glad to be here joining you and Fortinet on this workshop. Good morning to the audience. I think, if you think about delivering presentations, a lot of people, it's either a presenter, it's quite easy. For us, what makes it safe for us is Fortinet is not new. We have been supporting Fortinet for the past 17 years, back in the day where they were founded as a UTM device. And since then, it has just grown from strength to strength. They are secure, simple to deploy, they're smart, they offer great support, and what's most convenient is that management, like Firoz says, happens from a single pane of glass. Okay. We look at current architectures, in most cases are insufficient and are complex. It's not designed to support our new environments. The screen you're viewing is, we've actually broken it up into 3 buckets. You can see on the far left is the network edge. And typically in this box, you would normally find routers, firewalls, and each one of those solutions have got their own management console. And what IT personnel has to do is they actually have to stitch them together. They got to create and manage policies, which is not simple. And it basically causes difficulty in monitoring applications and able to offer security as well as being in compliance. The middle bucket is the WAN, and this is where IT needs to figure out whom can talk to whom and where routes need to go to. This process can also be cumbersome, especially if you have a large-scale environment. Most of the case, you also have bandwidth on WAN links, which are not fully utilized. And usually, if one link is active, the other link is in a standby or passive mode. If anything goes wrong, the IT department doesn't have full visibility, and it makes their troubleshooting exercise extremely difficult. The last bucket is the applications. And this is what we are used to. Gone are the days of ports, IP addresses. Today, when customers want to understand visibility of what's going on in their environment, they require usernames, applications. And this today can be everywhere. It can be in private clouds, public clouds. And the question you need to ask yourself, which one of these areas do you have the most challenges? Fortinet's secure SD-WAN. Secure SD-WAN, this offering or solution by Fortinet is not a separate device. Their flagship solution called the FortiGate offers security plus SD-WAN combined into a single appliance with no additional licensing. Now, SD-WAN has become the new word around the block, at least for the last couple of years. Many customers can interpret SD-WAN in different forms or factors. The most simplest form is where they use to load balance multiple WAN links. It can also be used to prioritize business applications, resources in a public cloud, voice solutions, and mail. Fortinet offers SLAs, and the SLA is basically like a health check monitor, which can provide automatic failover if any of the conditions have failed. Conditions like packet loss, jitter, and latency. Enterprises also use the SD-WAN solution as an alternative or a replacement to the MPLS links. The most reason is MPLS links are not cost-effective and can be replaced with cost-effective broadband links, however, still ensuring the integrity using IPsec VPNs for the encryption. What's exciting about Fortinet's SD-WAN is their technology is powered not just by purpose-built hardware, but their very own ASIC technology. We'll talk more about the SOC 4 processor later on the slides. Okay, the business value of moving to SD-WAN is user experience, providing local breakout instead of backhauling all traffic to a central DC or to a head office. The return on investment, more bandwidth at much lower costs, and simplified operations. That means you have complete end-to-end visibility. Okay, enabling the application resilient networks. Fortinet has simplified this architecture, and it allows us to connect users and applications in the most efficient way, giving the user the best user experience. You all have types of applications that reside in different places. We do several things here. Once you've defined a policy for users and applications, traffic is intelligently steered to a destination, including encrypted traffic. We've seen that today, more than 75% of all internet traffic is encrypted. Fortinet has the ability to identify and classify over 5,000 applications. And these applications are continuously growing as Fortinet learns new ones. They also have a self-healing process. As an example, if one link goes down, it can automatically fail over to another link in sub-seconds. They also, apart from the application visibility, they also have got various other databases like internet services. I remember back in the day when we tried to support the first Office 365, it had thousands of IP addresses. Imagine the IT nightmare that was just capturing those IP addresses and then updating it or manually keeping them updated. Okay. Fortinet also has something called adaptive forward error correction and packet deduplication to overcome packet loss latency. Lastly, they have high availability on their FortiGate devices, which can be deployed in an active-passive or active-active mode at the network edge. Okay, looking at the secure SD-WAN with Fortinet's latest and greatest being the security fabric. For those viewers that are not familiar, I want to take you back to 2000 when Fortinet introduced their UTM. That was their claim to fame. However, over the last 15 years, we've seen next generation firewalling also enter the market. However, 6 years ago, Fortinet introduced the security fabric, this now being the third generation of their firewall. Number one, it's broader, okay? It's not just protecting your edge. We look at devices such as Wi-Fi in the environment. It can also be on your LAN segment in terms of what is connecting to it, right down to branches. If you look at your cloud offering, they support private clouds, public clouds, endpoints. They've got NOC and SOC built into it. And obviously, as well as what we're talking about, their security-driven networking at all edges. So it's a single view that you can have of your entire enterprise from a single pane of glass. All these solutions are not just patched together, they are fully integrated across all Fortinet solutions. Apart from Fortinet solutions, they've also have 400 alliances. The biggest one that I look at is Cisco, and it's one of the first alliances Fortinet engaged with many years ago. So although they are competitors, they also have one of the strongest partnerships around NSX and Fortinet's VNX. The automation is the last part of the security fabric, and this helps because it helps us by increasing workflows across all elements. This simply means, as an example, if an endpoint was infected, the operating system can ban that IP address. It can segment it off the network, and then using its management, send you an email of the infected device. And like I said, there's over 400 fabric-ready partners that have joined Fortinet's ecosystem. Moving over to the analytics and the management, it's key because you can have the best firewall in the world. And we've seen Fortinet has got a rich and robust operating system. It would be useless if you had no visibility in it. So we're not talking just about glorified syslog servers. Even that has transformed. And today we talk about analytics and management. With regards to SD-WAN, their analytics give you visibility of the applications in terms of your bandwidth, the amount of sessions, the amount of events. It also gives you graphs showing you monitoring for jitter, latency, and packet loss. These dashboards are fully customizable. They are widgets, meaning you can add, remove, and customize them for your own suitability. You can also adjust severity levels for any SD-WAN alerts in terms of high or critical events. In this particular case, you can look at the health case. We're looking at multiple WAN links, such as MPLS, SD-WAN made up of 2 WAN links, port 1, port 2. Again, it's giving you history for the WAN health. Again, monitoring the jitter, the latency, as well as any packet loss. Firoz, on this next, I would like to share another slide as part of this demo, just showing the viewers what does Fortinet's analyzer look like.
100%. Let's do it. Quite excited to see the demo.
Yeah. So most of the times demos don't always go as expected, and I'm hoping we don't break anything here. Okay, so I'm starting off by logging on to a local FortiCloud service. Okay, there's multiple views. I'm starting off with the FortiView, showing the viewers, when you look at this view, what is it? So number one, you have the ability of drilling down to the exact device or grouping all your device to give you a consolidated view. What's also important is the time frame. You can drill down to last 5 minutes, spanning across weeks or months. In this particular case, I'm looking at the last 4 hours in our environment. We can see there's a UDP scan. It's picked up via the IPS engine. That's the threat score as well as the severity. Now, why I like it, Firoz, is just by double clicking, it actually gives you that drill down capability. And you can see exactly where that attack came in from in terms of its IP address, the interface, what scoring it had, was there any bytes. Now, in our particular case, although it's an alert, you can actually see that particular threat was blocked. And there's loads of other incidents that is available. I'd like to just share with you some of the applications. Like I said in the beginning, if you had to report to management around IP addresses and ports, that is meaningless. You need to be able to tie it right down to a username, a user group, as well as the application. You can see in our organization, these are some of the support personnel using AnyDesk, PNC, some Bittorrent as well.
How do you explain the Bittorrent there in terms of the support staff, eh?
Let's have a look, because some of our users actually have got access to a smart SSID. And yeah, and there we go. So you can see the IP address. This is on our smart SSID. And the individual in this particular case is Patrick on his Huawei phone.
Okay.
So we allow the smart, and this is where most of the users can access social media, do some banking. In this particular case, we are not blocking, but we are scanning for any malicious content. If we look at the top cloud applications, maybe this should be a little bit more business related. And there we go. From Acrobat Cloud, Amazon, Dropbox, Azure. And again, if I'm just looking for one that's got enough data, if you double click, it actually drills down. And in this case, you're not picking up the username because these users are connecting over the smart SSID. So there's no authentication that is being passed. Let's take a look at, like you said, let's see who's on Facebook right now. Same to users over the smart network. Okay, so the different views are available. It's a web front end. I also like to show most of the viewers. There is also monitors that has been adapted into the solution, and the monitors are. For those, I'm not sure if you've seen, a lot of organizations have got these screens that can actually monitor real-time threats coming into. So if you think about a SOC or a NOC, this is Fortinet's analyzer giving you that same visibility. If you see the screen that has just come up, that's a real-time map showing all the attacks from our organization going to different destinations. Okay. On the left-hand side, there's a threat map. This will actually give you a timestamp, the threat, as well as the source and destination, exactly what's matching on the globe. If you look at below, the type of threats like I've shown you, top viruses, and all of this you have from a single pane of glass. Okay. If I look at VPN, okay, it's not any traffic on that at the moment. I just want to see if the client has got any threats, and at the moment we don't have anything. The analyzer does extend into a lot more. So the 40 view is ideal for those organizations wanting to have a real-time view, what is happening, as well as setting up various monitors. Just with regards to the SD-WAN, I like to bring in the next screen, which is a FortiGate. The single pane of glass, from the FortiAnalyzer, you have the ability of connecting from that same page into your FortiGate. I've already got it open, and in this particular case, it's defaulted to our security fabric view. Now, the security fabric, as you see on the left-hand side, it gives you different viewpoints. What I'm displaying to the viewers is a logical topology. Now, Firoz, this is not a Visio map. This is a real-time. In fact, the FortiGate with all the devices is exchanging telemetry information, and it builds up a real map. In terms of our SD-WAN configuration, you can see there's 2 WAN links, and then we have all our internal VLANs. But more importantly, you can see what else is connected in terms of our environment. I zoom, you can see the user that's connected. Just looking, there's hardly users at the office today because of our pandemic. Okay, just give me a second. That's voice. And I'm actually just looking for me, if that helps. Okay, so here we've got a few users, and you can see all these users are connected to the smart SSID. The smart SSID is connecting to the open plan access point, and that access point eventually connected by the switches to the FortiGate. Just out of interest, if you wanted to understand how does the security fabric gives you complete visibility of your entire infrastructure or enterprise from a single pane of glass. Okay. We were talking about the SD-WAN. in our particular case, we've deployed SD-WAN as a linked load balancer, a failover for all applications across 2 different broadband links. It gives you visibility where you can see the bandwidth or volume or sessions. Okay, so we've got a good even spread of upstream as well as downstream. The performance SLAs, this is a real-time health check monitor. And as you can see, these green arrows actually showing you the last stats that it did, okay? Whether it is any packet loss across any of those WAN links, latency, jitter, and you can build your own SLAs. So the above is just an example showing you what we are doing in our organization. So we're doing a health check, normal DNS server. We've got an ERP hosted in our public cloud, 8.8. I don't think there's one engineer who doesn't use that. And then for our voice, we also can view jitter. And you can just see between the 2 links, here's a nice example showing WAN 2 is 0.18 milliseconds, and our dark fiber link is 0.09 milliseconds. The SD-WAN also uses rules. Just like your firewall rules, you specify either IP address. We like to use usernames. I think that's the much easier way instead of who can remember IP addresses. You know, even if you've got DHCP, after 7 or 14 days, they do change. In this particular example, you can import by means of using Active Directory all your user groups. Those are radius single sign-on users or any single sign-on users. I can specify our head of departments, going for internet service as an example. Let's just say Office. And in Office, you can see the number of IP ranges and total IP addresses there. Now just imagine any engineer having to capture that. And these are one of the databases I was talking about that Fortinet has got thousands of applications. Okay, I'm just showing you a common one is being Office 365. How easy is that for selection? Okay, in terms of strategy, best quality or cost. In some cases, if you're using LTE, where there is a cost associated to it, which WAN link is primary, secondary, and then what measured SLA would I like to assign for it? In this case, I can select packet loss, and that means traffic will be directed to the 48 link. If that fails, it will then fail over to the second WAN link. That's how easy it is to configure the WAN link load balancing. We've got a couple of rules. Again, this is specific for our environment. There's no hard and fast rule. The SD-WAN can be accommodated to any organization's requirements. It's not specific. Okay. Thanks for that, Firoz. I'm moving on.
Thank you. It's informative, and maybe later on when we're doing the panel, and we'll have questions as well. People may want to see more, but we can get back to that later. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, next up is enabling the remote work at scale. And Firoz, we've seen, for more than a year since the pandemic hit, not only because of our pandemic, there's natural disasters such as fire, water flooding, acts of terror, any of those things can be hit. But we've seen last year when we went into full lockdown, most organizations were not geared up for remote, or let's just say securely working from home. Their current VPN solutions scaled up only for 10% for super admins and key personnel, not the entire organization. With our full lockdown, we've seen more than 90% of all personnel having the ability to work from home. All of this, as we can see, can strike with little or no warning. Business continuity planning, disaster recovery is key because, yes, you can have a process. As an example, if you're doing a backup, yes, every customer makes backups, but how often are those backups actually tested? In this case, when the pandemic hit South Africa, we hit our land, we had no choice. Fortinet solution was key in terms of providing that secure connectivity from anywhere. Employees working off-site, and we saw all sizes of businesses being affected. Not only enterprises, we also saw schools, because that was the super spreader in our country, providing secure connectivity for all students back to their classrooms, back to Google Classrooms. We made that possible using Fortinet solutions. We're going to talk about that shortly. Looking at the above screen is one of the solution offerings, and this is in the case of taking a teleworker, a normal basic user having to work from home. Now, any home connection, Firoz, I've got a 20 meg fiber. I've got kids with smart devices, with tablets, with laptops, and how do you manage it? You know, you have these service providers, they put down a fiber link, they give you wireless, but it's not a secure connection. Yeah. Okay, it's extremely worrying, not only for us. From my home, yes, we make use of a FortiGate to secure my Wi-Fi, also to secure all connectivity from my home into our organization. Now, in some cases, you might not have a FortiGate. There are alternatives. Fortinet has an endpoint control product called a FortiClient, and this can be installed on most laptops, tablets, and mobile devices. The FortiClient, apart from having a personal firewall, also gives you the ability to establish a secure connection, either making use of IPsec or SSL VPN. The additional solutions that we've helped customers with is by enabling multi-factor authentication. So yes, you're connecting from an untrusted network. You cannot rely on usernames and passwords. We've just seen so many type of attacks where usernames and passwords were compromised. Fortinet offers their own two-factor authentication in the form of hardware tokens or software tokens that you can install on your smart devices. That basically provides you a one-time PIN that changes every 60 seconds. So if you needed to establish a secure connection from home or coffee shop, from any insecure connection, you can still encrypt all your data using their VPN. The EMS is a software configuration tool. It's an enterprise management suite. Fortinet provides it free of charge. There's no cost associated for it. Yes, you have to buy the FortiClients. That's what's licensed on. But the management console that you can use to deploy the same configuration to all devices in your network is provided at no cost. Okay. So the existing FortiGate at the head office or at the branch helps you. It helps you because it offers the latest next generation firewalling capabilities, anything from a SMB to a large scale workforce for support. It extends your current infrastructure, giving you these type of management tools like I showed you in the previous demo. It enables secure remote connectivity for your entire workforce. Not only as the example for basic users, we're talking about executives, we're talking about power users, all personnel. You can have different policies, even for third parties or contractors. Firoz, something else Mark and I would also like to talk about is Fortinet's Up and Displacement program. This is not new. It has been around for a long time. If you think about Fortinet, when they started in 2000, their hardware devices is what they're famous for because of their ASIC technology. Right now, Fortinet is on their F hardware release, so A, B, C, D, E, F. And what they allow you is on the old devices that has become now end of support or end of order, they allow a trade-up program. So across their entire estate, Fortinet, I want to say buy it back, but they basically offer customers a trade-in. You trade in your old device and you can get the latest hardware revision. Now the hardware revision, I spoke about this ASIC technology. The latest on the CPE devices is called the SOC 4 processors. What's nice about it, it's a combination of their network processor as well as their security processor or content processor into one device. And this is one of the reasons that Fortinet's ASIC technology has proven them to be the fastest firewall in the world. Not just now, and I'm not just saying it, they are tested by various organizations like NSS Labs and so forth. And that's one of the reasons why they're able to achieve that status. They also have got a displacement program. So apart from trading up your own Fortinet devices, FortiGate devices, they also offer buybacks on competitors. As an example, if you've got an old Sonic wall, it's coming up for trade up, Fortinet will offer you the same displacement program. And when you look at these displacement programs, Firoz, sometimes the cost of it it's almost the same as doing a renewal on those old devices. And that's the benefit for the viewers out there. Yeah, I think we're all good. I can move on. Okay, reaching almost to the end, we also want to offer our viewers and as a partnership, Firoz, for First Technology is a free cyber threat assessment program. Now, this is not something new. I've been doing it for a long time. It's the same when I go back to being a techie. We called it at that time proof of concepts, where we would actually take Fortinet's FortiGates device, deploy it in a customer's environment, and prove the functionality and the features. So in today's time, that has changed. Okay, it allows us, I want to call it these 5 steps of the CTAP life cycle. It's as simple as logging onto the local cloud portal that we've created. So number one, data is not moving outside the country. It's locally hosted. We select the type that we want to do, and then we provision either a hardware device in the customer's environment. Hardware device, virtual is also supported. We do not disrupt the existing environment. We do not, if the customer has got a Fortinet or a Checkpoint or Cisco, any type of firewall, we leave that intact, including an existing FortiGate. Customer has got a core switch, and all we do is we span a port of all traffic entering or leaving the organization. So 0 disruption to the customer's network. We collect the logs for maximum 3 to 7 days, 7 days at the maximum. And after that time, we click on a report. We generate an executive summary showing the customer exactly what are the security threats. What's the malware, the spyware? Is there any ransomware that is running in the organization? What are users doing? Right down to the applications like we've seen in the demo, giving you a good understanding of the security threats, the firewall throughput, the sessions, and so forth. We then discuss these findings with the customer, and we prepare for engagement to move from an evaluation into a purchase. That, Faraj, brings me to the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Praven. That was very informative. There's a couple of things I picked up during the discussion that that resonates in terms of a conversation. The one thing is you mentioned that now 75% of the global traffic is now encrypted as in HTTPS, which is good news, because that means we are operating or accessing secure sites as opposed to unsecure sites. It also means that your security framework within your business needs to have that deep packet inspection enabled, so you can see what is not actually going through the network, because that becomes, because malware can also hide themselves, right? You mentioned the 400 alliances, which is something I wasn't aware of, and the fact that Forti's got those agreements in place with other vendors. And security is not a single vendor solution. I mean, you need to work with other people to integrate and operate, etc. So that's good to know as well. You mentioned the word automation, and I think automation is a common constant that we get asked for by customers in terms of whether it be on the network, on the server environment, on the cloud integration. Automation is becoming a key part of being able to scale the business, as well as automation has got its ability to operate while you're not looking, right? And that's key, because nobody can stay at the screen 24/7, 7 days a week. And so things need to happen in the back end that are automated, and it's not just rules based. Sometimes it's got a bit of it needs to have a bit of intelligence decision making as well. You certainly illustrated quite well that SD-WAN is just not a buzzword, because I mean, for a while, I think it was just a buzzword. Everybody was climbing onto the wagon. The way Fortinet has built it, I think, is elegant. It sits within the gate. There's no extra licensing required. You don't need another application. You just turn it on as you need it. And I think that's awesome, because we've started doing that for a lot of our customers.
Oops, sorry.
Doing that for some of our customers. How does a customer get a SSID, a smart SSID? I mean, I've got, if you pause for a second there, I've got Mark Linnell as well. Thank you, Mark, for joining as well on the panel. Mark, as I mentioned earlier, for those of you that came in late, perhaps, Mark is a major account manager for Fortinet in the Western Cape, so he's local and operates quite closely with our team in terms of addressing customers' requirements. And for those who came in late and didn't meet Praven, Praven is the managing director of Maxtec. They're the distributor and bring a lot of, I should say, value-added distributor, because they are truly a value-added partner to us in South Africa and in the Western Cape. So my question to Praven or to Mark is, how does a customer get a smart SSID?
Prav, do you want to go for it?
Yeah, I think Firoz asked so many questions. I actually got lost answering, because Firoz, you started off with SSL inspection, and I think that is key, right? So yes, Fortinet has the ability to inspect that traffic intelligently enough to give it to you. But that's a key question customers should ask themselves, because if they don't have a next generation firewall, then basically what it actually means is any encrypted traffic, meaning any web traffic, any mail traffic, is being bypassed by the normal content filters, or call it scanners, anti-spam scanners, or even right down to I want to say botnet, and those sophisticated type of threats. So it's absolutely key in terms of SSL inspection is one of the choices when choosing a next generation firewall that's supported. Now, Fortinet, that's something that they've maintained and for a long time. There's no additional licensing that's required for it. And like I said, in terms of their processing power, they don't only rely on the onboard Intel processor and RAM. They embed their own ASIC technologies across all devices. Going over to the question that you asked, Firoz, regarding the SSIDs, I actually want to drag the screen across because yes, one of the features that Fortinet offers in their FortiGate devices is a built-in wireless controller. Now, what does that mean? It means in this next generation firewall, I can manage my Wi-Fi. And if you look at the screen, if I click on Wi-Fi and switch controller, manage access points, it automatically again uses a discovery process of all the access points, Fortinet access points in this particular case, so managed. But if I wanted to create an SSID, it would be as simple as clicking on SSID, giving it a friendly name to be advertised, selecting the type, okay, if it's tunnel, is it bridged, is it a mesh, DHCP, and then more importantly, selecting what security mode you would like to offer. Now, I think in the presentation or in the demo, I was referring to our smart. Our smart is actually an open SSID, which we are approving based on their MAC addresses. But as an example, you could select captive portal, and we see a lot of customers having to give visitors and contractors access into the environment. This Fortinet device can give you a guest portal built in, either locally on the device or using an external solution. I mean of radius and so forth. You can even customize the captive portal. You can specify a specific URL. You've got the ability of customizing that and limiting it. So on one page, you can configure the whole SSID with the security. And once this is done, then you're still going to need the Fortinet rules to control it and enforce all the security profiles it has to offer. Mark, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
No, Prav, I think one of the other things that is included is the Wi-Fi, is the switch controller. So not only having a Wi-Fi controller, there's also a switch controller. So that whole fabric gets now built out to the AP and the switch.
Yeah, 100%. Sorry, I think I haven't included that, but again, I've just clicked on 40 on the 40 switch, and this is not a diagram. It's actually showing that's our upstream firewall. It's a FortiGate 100F. It's got 2 10G ports connecting to our core switch. Okay, so that's effectively is a 20 gig trunk, and then it's talking to all the other access switches throughout our building. Now, this is not it's not a diagram. In fact, I can right click and I can configure what port it is. I can search via MAC address, IP address, username. You've got that flexibility to create your own VLANs. I think I spoke about that earlier in the security fabric. If you were searching for a port, it's like finding a needle in a haystack. I could just search for, I'm using our main services managers as an example here. And there we go. I've just searched for Yanaman. Yanaman is connected on the .10 switch on port 4. That's his phone. That's the VLAN. If I wanted to reset the phone, look how easy is that? Just by right-clicking, reset PoE, or add him to a new VLAN, or set the power on that port. So lots of features and functionality available. It's not just, I think the security fabric, when they say broad, it's everything. It's Wi-Fi, your LAN segment, your endpoints, your NAC, your public cloud, your private cloud, anything that affects your organization.
So Praven, that's awesome. I think the simplicity you've shown is quite nice as well. There's a question from one of the guests, Jaco, is asking, can third-party Wi-Fi APs and switches be integrated into the controllers?
So no, in terms of management and automation, it cannot be, but then you can pass that third-party Wi-Fi traffic through the firewall to secure it using the next generation features.
Okay, all right, thank you. From the audience perspective, are there any other questions? I've got some more things that's spinning in my head. My head is always like a bit of a hamster wheel, for those who know me. So a whole bunch more questions. If anyone's got questions, please feel free to either ask them or either post them in the text or the chat session, the text window, and then we can pick it up. So I was going to ask you another question around the EMS component. The EMS component is part of the Forti client, as you mentioned. The Forti client's got multiple roles apart from securing, VPN, private firewall, all this kind of stuff. You mentioned the EMS component, and the EMS component is the management component. Now, does that allow you to also view that client from the analyzer, even if the client is remote, like work from home?
Yep. Yeah. Firoz, absolutely correct. So the Forti client is an extension of the fabric. The management console being the EMS. A simple example would be is you've got different types of user groups. You've got a finance group requires different types of access as opposed to technical or accounts or sales. So through the Forti client, it's just the endpoint control. You can have multiple profiles, configured for different user groups. Yes, from that profile, you can also, if users are working from home, their logs can be sent to a Forti analyzer as an example. But the management of it, ensuring that they're up to date, they're receiving the latest VPN configurations, is updated.
Okay, awesome. No questions yet. So I've got a question for Mark, specifically Mark, on the trade in or trade up program. I'm not talking about when you've got a current Fortinet gateway and you want to upgrade, or the firewall, you want to upgrade it to a new version that we've discussed. We've discussed kind of the competitive trading as well. Praven mentioned the Sonic wall there. But is that open to any known firewall product? If a customer says, I want something that's Gartner Quadrant recognized, is that something that is open to all firewalls the customer might have?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we want to make sure that everyone's running Fortinet. So we're happy to play ball and help customers, buy something that they can see the return on investment on, and whether or not we do that via the trade-up program or a discount scenario doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, the ability to have a next-gen firewall inside an organization is only going to add value. So whether that's displacing or trading up or whatever it may be, we want to make sure we're there to help.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I just want to mention something about the CTAP programs. So Praven mentioned the CTAP program earlier, and I've experienced the CTAP program that we've run for internal assessments as well, because we are Fortinet user, and also for some of our customers where they've said we've got a current firewall and we think we're secure, we think we're okay, but we want to make sure we're okay. And we've run the assessment, and the reports, the dashboard that comes back is amazing. It provides a lot of insight, not only on a technical level, but on a business level, where the vulnerabilities could be, what could be missing on the current firewall, the current infrastructure. The challenge with security is that there is no single bullet to fix the problem. You need to do it properly, and you need to make sure that the technology you've chosen can cover that properly. And I think Praven has just showed a sample of the executive summary, and that's exactly what it looks like. It shows you the amount of IPS attacks during that period, and it gives you botnets running. It tells you if there's RDP sessions open, tells you if there's torrents running. And often, the one customer was at, they said to us, there are no torrents running in our environment, and that's it. And we digged up about 3 or 4 of them. I think they also said to us that there's no RTP sessions, they don't allow it. We found a couple of them as well. So it's quite interesting to see. And thank you, Praven, for putting it up, but it gives you a nice real-time view of what do you get out of that assessment. So I'd like to encourage the customers on the calls, and any customer of ours, that if we can do something for you around an assessment from a threat management perspective, then please let us help you. There's no cost associated with that. So audience is very quiet this morning. I'm not sure if Praven, if your presentation was so to the point that there's no questions. I certainly think it was informative, but I've got some other stuff here that maybe should be asked. That we've covered the SD-WAN at length, so I'm not going to ask a question around that. I had a question. I scribbled down here. Here we go. We're talking about deep packet inspection. We're talking about security. You've mentioned multi-factor authentication, etc. But what about spam and malicious email? Either Mark or Praven, you can respond to that. Is there an ability within the Fortinet solution that can address that?
Prev, do you want me to go? I'm happy to take it.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely for us, we have FortiMail, both offered as a service in the cloud or as an on-prem offering. Obviously using the FortiGuard Labs database and the ability to inspect the traffic and understand what it looks like. So yeah, 100%. Compete head on with all the big mail providers and mail cleaning providers. And also, then the flavor of how you want to deploy it, whether it's cloud, on-prem, hybrid, entirely up to you. And just on back, referring back to your CTAP, we can also do a FortiMail CTAP. So we can also do a one-arm sniffer and have a look at what kind of traffic is coming through your mail to identify those threats. Yeah.
I think just to add on to Mark is, a lot of customers have migrated to like Mimecast for their anti-spam enhancement. They also use in Office 365. And the Fortinet solutions Mark is referring to actually complements and provides a second layer or level of protection. Because I think with regards to anti-spam, yes, ransomware is the number one in terms of sophisticated type of attacks that customers are experiencing. Not only customers, everybody, even Maxtec, we are constantly receiving type of attacks, and we've got different layers just to protect against ransomware.
Okay, so I didn't know you could do a CTAP for that as well. It's good to know. And you're saying that you'd coexist with other filtering engines as well, just to enhance the security even further. Okay, that's good to know. So let's talk a little bit about cloud here. I mean, there's a lot of customers that's starting to put pieces of the technology into the cloud, either into AWS or Azure. And typically we think of a firewall, we think about on-premise. Talk us through a scenario about how it could interact when you've got some stuff sitting at Azure and some stuff sitting at at AWS, and obviously your on-prem data center still.
And yeah, thanks, Feroz. Mark, you happy if I go on this one?
Please, Prav, go for it.
Yeah. So you're absolutely correct. Is customers, especially we've seen the adoption to cloud started growing year on year. The security fabric is exactly that. Is you have a head office, you might also have a private DC, but during lockdown, customers needed access to resources. They needed to spin up things like services, and it's so convenient using a public cloud to register on the marketplace, provision any resources. And the number one mistake they don't that they leave out is obviously not just spinning up infrastructure in terms of CPU and resources and memory, but also provisioning a firewall. Now, the same FortiGate firewalls that's available in hardware, in fact, most of the Fortinet solutions are also available in VM. And that means in that public cloud or even private cloud, Fortinet can still provide you that security no matter where the location is.
Okay.
Just to add on to that, Feroz, everyone talks around the management. It's always going to have management everywhere we go. Regardless of where those those instances are located, your FortiManager, be that a cloud FortiManager or an on-prem FortiManager, can see those gates. So you can extend that security fabric to those instances regardless of the location.
Okay, so is that like just a virtualized instant in the cloud as well, integrated into your localized environment?
Yeah, so whether you want to have an on-prem FortiManager managing those FortiGates that are on-prem and or in Azure and or in AWS, it really doesn't matter. So that single panel, single framework, or pane of glass that we're talking about has to happen regardless of where those FortiGates are located.
Okay. Good. And I think we can do the FortiManager and Analyzer as a service as well now for customers. So if they don't want to buy an appliance or a capital expense, we can do it as a service.
That's correct.
Yeah, and I think Fortinet has also provided all those services. But Feroz, what Maxtec has been doing, we are a firm believer of Fortinet for the past 17 years. We have also provided all those services as a local. So we've got a FortiAnalyzer, a FortiManager, a SIEM. And that helps customers, because you look at any SIEM solution, it's not cheap. It costs money. And what if you manage to buy it, then you still require the resources to manage it. So we can provide that, the resources as well, whether it's on-prem or you're using the SIEM as a service, as a value add to customers, where we can provide you 24/7 managed SIEM monitoring.
Okay, thank you. So again, guys, we were sitting with the work from home scenario. As a matter of fact, Praven showed it quite clearly on their network that there are few people in the office, and more and more as I speak to customers, they are getting back to the office, but it's kind of a rotational basis, or 30% of the time, maybe pop in 3 times a week, or whatever the case might be. So I think the world is hybrid now, and it's going to stay hybrid in terms of the way people are working. So one of the things that comes out is working from home, and your endpoints are now outside of your network environment, obviously, which raises a lot of risks, because we don't know from a business perspective what happens from the employees' home environment. You mentioned they may not have adequate firewall, they may have a basic router from the ISP, they may be running torrents themselves, who knows, or they could be bringing movies home from other places, and exchanging files, etc. So how can Fortinet identify and protect an endpoint that is not in the office? Yeah.
So, the easiest way to do that would be you need to have visibility of all your devices that's connecting. So Fortinet, yes, they're most famous for their next generation firewall, and that can be at your head office. We spoke about public clouds, private clouds, and if you don't have it at branches, then yes, you can also deploy the Forti clients on every endpoint, every machine, irrespective of what medium they connect into. So whether they connect in, using a broadband fiber solution or wireless solution, even right down to mobile networks such as LTE, the endpoint can be controlled and monitored, secured using their endpoint control software. Now, FortiClient is the entry level or the basic offering of that. Fortinet has also got an enterprise solution called EDR, or even now going down to XDR. So that means not only am I able to monitor and control, I can also respond. And we see more and more at a global level that solutions are now wanting that automation. I think earlier you also alluded to it, is to say you've got the analyzers and you've got people viewing the logs. It's like finding a needle in the haystack. So if you look at Fortinet, what they've done is they have the ability to provide, yes, all the signatures, all the automation. They've got their own AI, which can filter all these events and then show you based on severities what you should be looking at, where you should be going to. And that's to help simplify the operators from finding a needle in a haystack.
Okay, that's great, because what you're saying is it doesn't matter where that client device sits or what the client's device looks like or how it connects. It's regarded as part of the security fabric.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So I don't know. The audience is very quiet today. It's a bit unusual. I'm not sure why. Maybe they're just digesting all the information. I've got another question maybe that is in my mind. So IT manager or CIO, he doesn't necessarily look at the dashboards. He doesn't necessarily look at the analyzer or the Forti manager. There might be a security manager that does that. What kind of reporting can he expect from the system, either from the manager or from the analyzer, on a daily basis or a weekly basis, that says this is what we've done from a security perspective over the last week, like a report dashboard?
Yeah. Mark, you want to go for it?
I mean, Prav, you've got the system up in front of you. I mean, everybody can have a look and see what those reports are. But
my question, my question is not. Yeah, my question is not real time going to the analyzer, because the CIO might not be doing that. What can he get via his email or progress or automatically from the system?
Yeah.
Either one of you. Yeah.
Yeah. So the analyzer.
The scheduling is where we're going. No. It's just the scheduling is where we're going to.
Yeah. Ultimately. So Fortinet has got. I think what I got on the screen are the predefined reports, and there's hundreds of templates predefined, meaning you don't have to go and pre-configure a report. Now, for an executive, he doesn't want a daily report. He wants a monthly report just to look at trends, to look at a 360 view of his organization. What are the latest threats? So the predefined report here, there's a 360 report. If I open that, just to give you an idea, is exactly that. You can, the CIO, the IT manager can get a weekly or a monthly report showing him what are the applications that's running in his environment. So not just application visibility, but what are those high-risk applications? Okay, things that he should be looking at. And as you can see, there's the Bittorrent. I think everything you spoke about, whether you're using peer-to-peer, using proxy for avoidance, you want visibility of what is happening in your organization. You can also see the latest threats, detection and prevention. So again, this is a sample report, but you can see the ICAR test virus, the famous one. Look at the malware botnets. Okay, so you basically want to view, you even want to view on your endpoints. Maybe there's an endpoint that hasn't been online, or that endpoint hasn't been updated, or there's been an issue. You want visibility on that, as well as recommended actions, what you should be doing. So the reporting, the visibility is key. You can have a world-class solution. If you don't have any trending, if you don't have any visibility, it's hard to monitor and control. Fortinet gives you real-time as well as going back in terms of long-term reporting. You know, and I think for us, it's so sensitive that customers, most of the time, they only ask the questions when they've already been compromised. And they've already been compromised maybe 3 or 6 months ago, which is a scary part.
Okay. So that's quite. I mean, that's an important tool for executive level to see what's happening in the business and ensuring that the security frameworks are in place. Audience is still very quiet, but from your side, Praveen, and from Mark's side, is there anything else you guys wanted to contribute? Otherwise, I think we must wrap up.
I think in summary, you know, Fortinet, single pane of glass. It's not only because we have Mark on the line or you as a partner. You know, I think we're very biased to it. But if you look at independent analysts, you know, they've always rated Fortinet as being #1 is a unified threat management for years. There's other Magic Quadrants they've also entered in terms of enterprise firewalling. They're a leader. SD-WAN is part of what we were talking about. They're a leader there as well. And they compete with the pure play providers as well as other secure SD-WAN providers. You know, they're a leader there because that's what they've invested in and they've got it right. You know, security has always been at the forefront of all their solutions. And that's, I suppose, why they're still #1. The ease of use, no per user licensing, single pane of glass for management, and #1, they're backed by what I like to call a GTI. GTI is not the new Golf 8, but it's obviously their global threat intelligence. You know, there's multiple databases, not just, we spoke about web filtering, we spoke about anti-spam, application control, all those deep packet inspection, all those different databases are constantly updated and pushed out, right down to cloud sandboxing as another database that Fortinet includes. And all those features is included for free as part of the bundle. You know, you can't buy them individually, but they basically give it to you. And from a cost perspective, there's no per user licensing for any of those features. You know, we spoke about SD-WAN, we spoke about the wireless controller. Those are all included. You don't pay anything for those features.
Okay, awesome. Mark, your side, last saying?
No, just thanks for your time. Thanks for everybody for attending. And yeah, we're here to help and would like to make your implementations a success. So
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
so thank you. So again, just reaching out to the audience, the CTAP is available. We could do it if you've got an existing gate, or if you want to look at an alternate solution from what you currently have. I'm going to help you understand that threat report and generate some analytics around it. I want to thank Praveen from Maxtec for his assistance in helping this presentation and running with it. For Mark from a 40 perspective and for the sponsorship of the session. Jolene specifically from marketing, who's been running with the invites and the management. So yeah, to everybody, thank you very much. The audience for taking the time out and joining us. Inbox me or inbox Jolene if you want to have access to the CTAB. And I wish you a further pleasant day. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you for the